This conference will now be recorded.
I hope we have some new people joining us who don't already know about IC3, but IC3 stands for International Career and College Counseling. So those are the three C's in it. And the Institute is a key part of this very important movement that began about 5 years ago. So you'll hear more from me later on, so I'm not going to speak at length right now, but let me just say a couple of things on what the next hour is going to look like. We've invited Mr. Kohli to talk to us about why career and college counseling in high schools at the right time can be magical and transformative for students as they think about their futures. After that, I'm going to share with you a little bit on what our global vision is for the Institute. And then I'm going to turn it over to Neha Bahl, my colleague, who is the director of the Institute based out of Mumbai. And before I turn it over to Ganesh, I want to share a sort of quick anecdote with you that even as we think about Harry Potter, and what an impact the character of Harry Potter and those books have had on the world. What you may not know is that its very successful author, J.K. Rowling, had struggled a lot in her life, and her early pursuits were very different. She had been a secretary, she'd been a researcher, she had struggled a lot till she found her calling as such a successful writer. And in fact, one of her secondary school teachers is quoted as saying that she was not exceptional when she was in school. So as we get into thinking about why guidance at the right time is so critical for students to discover their magic, let's also keep in mind the story of J.K. Rowling and where she is today. So with that, it's my great pleasure to invite Ganesh to share his thoughts with us.
Right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I just wanted to have everybody really lift their arms, raise it high and long, raise it up, bend the elbow, and pat yourself on the back. You know, there are like 100 webinars every week. People are fed up of looking at the screen. I don't know what my relatives look like. I don't know what my work family looks like. And you are all courageous enough to be here at, you know, whatever time it is in your part of the world to attend one more webinar. It better be good, because really there is this extreme exhaustion that many of us are experiencing. And I hope that this content today will be deserving. You really need to be congratulated for being here, one. And my hope is that this content is going to be so relevant and that something shifts for you. That when you go back to school tomorrow or on Monday, there is something that changes in the way that you look at things. So my first, my first point is, if you look at schools around the world, and I've been very fortunate to work, I saw some familiar faces here or familiar names in the list, but in all my travels, in our research, we know that the single biggest problem that schools faced worldwide was boredom. And there was this whole extinguishing of this curiosity. I mean, Dr. Ken Robinson's very famous TED talk on, how schools kill curiosity and all of that, has made me reflect a lot. And what we're really presenting to you is the fundamental pedagogy. It is something that has been practiced for 17 years. The IC3 Institute uses it to train teachers. And so all that is being shared here has been experimented with. And there really is a possibility to wipe out boredom from schools. And that possibility exists or rests, at least in part, with how career and college counseling is delivered, how guidance is delivered. And so what we're really talking about here is how can we bring that excitement? How can we take out this boredom? How can we get some of those academic books that seem to be so bland, even for an 8th grader or a 9th grader? There are so many young people. I was a maths teacher, and I met so many young people who hated math. And I used to do these workshops for people who hated math. And almost magically, I found many people at the end of it, a good 70–80% come out either not hating math or at least or falling in love with math. Because for a lot of them, it was so abstract. They had never really seen the geometry or the algebra in their shirt or their tie, or in the wall in front of them, or in the carpet that they were sitting on. They hadn't really seen the math all around them, or in the bottle that lied ahead of them, or in their spectacle frames. There was math everywhere, in every aspect of their life, and yet they were taught math in a way that they were told, one day when you grow up, you're going to use math. Right now, just learn all this calculus and learn all this algebra and learn all of this, and then one day you will use it. And that's really, I wouldn't want to lay the blame on anyone or anything, but really, is it even possible today, where attention spans of young people, including ourselves, we are also young, have fallen from 4 hours to 40 seconds? We aren't really able to hold people's attention for more than 40 seconds. So how do you engage and excite people? Schools are not about teaching. The last thing you want to do in schools is focus on teaching. Schools are about learning, and the focus of schools has to be on learning. And so what we're talking about here is the impact that career and college counseling can have on learning. Imagine if we were able to wipe out boredom. Imagine if we were able to bring the sort of excitement that young people experienced while they read Harry Potter or watched the movie. I mean, there is ample evidence to show that every time you watched, young people read a few pages, they couldn't stop reading this book. Imagine a physics book being like that. Imagine an economics book being as exciting to read as Harry Potter. So what is that missing link? And what I'm doing here, I'm only going to be doing this for a few minutes, and I will be happy to take your questions after my colleagues and Rajika and Neha and everyone's presented. I'd be happy to take your questions. But what I'm doing is I'm introducing to you a part of the fundamental pedagogy that the IC3 Institute runs on. That basic pedagogy is called the counseling laboratory. And a laboratory is not a place for repetition. A laboratory is not a place to do more of the same. And a laboratory is a place for experimentation and for learning. And while the math or the physics in school is not going to change ever, careers and colleges are constantly changing around us. I always say this, I was a maths teacher and a career and college counselor. I could pretty much do the same thing in my math class year after year, but I had to constantly innovate when it came to advising young people on their life ahead or their careers ahead. And so what I'm encouraging you to consider here is a possibility that if we have a functional and an effective counseling laboratory, part of what the counseling laboratory does is it delivers certain learning outcomes in school. It delivers what we call the Harry Potter effect, where academic material become as exciting as reading Harry Potter. So if you've got a functional career and college counseling laboratory and you are able to deliver the Harry Potter effect, then you are impacting learning in schools. One of the reasons why career and college counseling has had a step-childly treatment in many schools. In fact, you will find almost every school has a principal, every school has a maths teacher, every school has an English teacher, but you will not find every school with dedicated career and college counselors. There are some social emotional counselors. The reason for that stepmotherly treatment is that, or stepchildly treatment, is that people never really understood the fact that career and college counseling directly impacts classroom learning. Career and college counseling goes far beyond college admissions. This very narrow prism that 12th graders have to apply for admission and let's prepare them to get into college is a very narrow perspective that has been taken. So while I will not do the broader piece, and based on the feedback, you'll all get a feedback form after today's webinar. If the feedback's really good, then what we will do is we will build out the different pieces. So the Harry Potter effect is one impact of the counseling laboratory, but we could build this out for you over a series of webinars. And God bless me, I get scared of even talking about another webinar in this current environment. But if you really enjoy what's happening today, then we will kind of build on this conversation. So let's try and delve into what are the other areas. So I said classroom learning can be impacted, relationship between parents and schools can be impacted through the counseling laboratory. And today I'm focusing on the classroom learning aspect. So one of the secrets with this piece is how can that one career and college counselor in school be the pivot around whom all the other teachers learn. Imagine if you are a counselor already and you were the one who trained all the teachers in your school to do something in their class so that students got excited. They wanted to do more of that subject. If you could do some of that training, that would be the most powerful gift that you could actually give to your school as a career and college counselor. Because an effective career and college counseling laboratory or a counselor can actually impact the learning of 6th and 7th and 8th graders, not directly, but through the teachers in school who this career and college counselor in turn trains. So let me give you an example. I'm sure most of us have situations where, we've got students who aren't just enjoying doing, let's say, I talked about math already. Let's talk about, say, physics. It's a science subject, more challenging. What could we possibly do to make, bring this Harry Potter effect with physics materials? The secret lies in bringing it to life. So any classroom that you are sitting in, even right now, if you just look around in your room, wherever you are sitting, it is a laboratory for physics. You don't have any equipment from a traditional physics lab, but it is a physics laboratory. You've got gravitation at play. Otherwise, I would be floating about the screen and you would barely see me. I would be pulling a handle down. We've got sound waves that are entering a microphone, which is on the computer, getting modulated, demodulated, transmitted, reproduced. This is all core physics concepts. We've got acoustics at play where, sound waves are also bouncing off walls. We are using different kinds of, phenomena from physics. We're wearing concave, convex lenses, whatever that is. And, there's a lot of physics all around you in just that room. There is also a lot of economics in that room. There is also a lot of psychology in that room. There is also a lot of maths in the room. Right now, where you are sitting, there is so much of every subject. But the way that subjects taught is without a context of with the real world of careers and colleges. Imagine you taught physics, and you actually got someone to see what is happening in their life today. A young person learns something at 9:30 a.m. in your school, he is not willing to wait till he is 90 years old to use it. He wants to be able to use it by 3:30 in the afternoon. If a context with careers and colleges can be provided, what you teach at 9:30 a.m. in a school can be used at 3:30 a.m. in the afternoon. That student has a sense of purpose. Young people are looking for purpose. They want to know, why am I doing what I'm doing? They're looking for purpose with their careers, with their subject choices, with their jobs, but they're also looking for purpose with every subject. They want to find meaning in what they get to. So when a teacher, every teacher effectively, every teacher in school becomes a 10% career and college counselor. Every teacher learns basic strategies for every class student to contextualize whatever is being taught in every paragraph of every chapter with the real world of careers and colleges, and adds a couple of projects with groups of students in that class to actually bring this alive, you are going to see what is the Harry Potter effect of career and college counseling. I was astonished through my years of doing this as to how excited people got about learning. And there were so many that students who self-discovered the joy of learning, they self-discovered their love for things that they thought they had no interest in. You know, the classical example is students who hate physics and love psychology. You know, it's a very common example of students. You know, we've actually segregated humanities and sciences separately. And there is a whole bunch of people out there who say, I love physics, I hate physics, and I love psychology, or vice versa. But really, we're past the days of Newtonian physics, while we still continue to have all of that. But you know, quantum physics talks about consciousness, and consciousness relates to psychology, and physics and psychology profoundly intersect today. And so there is a lot more. The new age universities, you know, you have the revolution of liberal arts institutions in India that was started by Flame University, and then, you know, Ashoka, and there's a whole lot of others that have come in along the way now, Kriya and so on. The fact is that a lot of it is talking about real examples, collapsing different areas of study together. So the Harry Potter effect really is about bringing that excitement back to the classroom and bringing a context, bringing purpose, and, you know, why am I doing what I'm doing? How do you actually bring this? This is really what we teach in the Institute. We spend a whole year with people, teachers, and this is what we teach, you know, and I'm very fortunate that I'm allowed to teach a few classes at the Institute, and this is really what we do, which is that we get the laboratory in focus. We are really, and that's the work of the IC3 Institute. So what I'm going to do is, at this point, I don't know how we are doing on time. I think I should stop because I might have overrun already. And I'll turn over back to Rajika. I'll come back and answer questions a little bit later.
Thank you, Ganesh. Thank you for really sharing with the group the fundamental approach to how we work with teachers in the Institute, and why counseling at the right time can have such a profound impact on students. So what I'm going to do is take a few minutes to share the larger, sort of take this a little bit narrower and share with you how within the Institute we are embodying the ideas of the counseling lab, what our vision is, and what the way forward is for us. And then Neha will talk more about more details about the Institute, and also share how all of you can be involved. So Neha, if we may move on Great, thank you. So, when we think about our vision, one of the images or metaphors we use within IC3 is this idea of a navigation system that, every year we are graduating millions of students, yet none of us would get on a plane without a functional navigation system, and yet we are putting millions of students out into a world without a good sense of how to navigate their way into the future. So in fact, our vision is a very simple but impactful statement around really believing in a world where every student should be equipped with a navigation system that's going to help them design their own educational and professional futures. How are we going to do this? Our concrete mission is around enabling access to career and college counseling for all high school students around the world, which really sets them up for success, whatever that next step is, regardless of what that next step is for them, whether it's going directly into a trade or a skill, into post-secondary education in the form of a traditional college, or even into the workforce. And the way we are doing it is through 5 clear goals or approaches. The first and foremost is that, and I'll share a little bit more about this, that our entire model is based around teachers and on empowering teachers. So we are working with training teachers to really be those change agents for students. We are building the capacity of teachers and supporting schools and really empowering them with resources, with other supports, to really create that embedded career and college function within their school. So again, it's not about working with individual students, but really working with all of you, working with schools to create long-lasting change. Through this work, we are enabling students to really chart their future course. And then the final 5th area that the Institute focuses on is that we see ourselves also as contributing to the evidence base, to the knowledge base of what do we really know about how students need to learn, how effectively are students prepared for their future, and how good a job are our schools and teachers doing in preparing students for that future. And that comes out of also doing research and generating evidence. Let's move on. So in all of this, can we move on to I want to emphasize that at the heart of our model, as I said earlier, is the idea that teachers are change agents. Even though, of course, the ultimate impact is on students, we believe fundamentally in teachers as change agents because the impact can be profound. And the multiplier impact happens in 2 ways. That if we can work with teachers for them to be those guides and change agents, we have not only impacted multiple generations of students who will be educated or learn from that teacher, but the teacher has also had an impact on the entire trajectory of that student's life. As Ganesh mentioned, the impact is not only when they're leaving school, but that career and college counseling and guidance at the right time has a profound impact over one's entire lifespan. Let's move on. I want to emphasize a couple of key elements about our approach that are very important to keep in mind. One, that through the Institute, we are really focused on the systems, all of the systems, all of the ecosystem that surrounds a student's learning and that has an impact on a student's future. So therefore, we're working with schools and teachers, we are working with parents, we are bringing in our higher education partners, we're bringing in industry partners, because only when everyone comes together and recognizes the importance of and the criticality of career and college counseling can we really begin to make a change in that entire ecosystem. I mentioned the capacity building aspect of it, that we are very focused on building the capacity of schools and teachers, of empowering schools and teachers. And then lastly, it's a collaborative model. And if we may move to the next slide. This is a look at some of the collaborations we have and the very strong partnerships we have built up, again, in thinking about the ecosystem. We have world-class volunteer faculty teaching in our institute. It's almost 200 people from around the world, from different areas, from different sectors, who are working with the teachers in the institute around the year to bring insights around different career pathways, but also specific processes around how to actually work with and guide students. This is a look at some of India's most innovative institutions who are our host partners for the Institute, working with us both on the curriculum, but also actually hosting the Institute. And we can move forward. Yeah, we can skip to the next slide. Where are we going from here? Want to quickly mention that the Institute really has a global vision. Our work, of course, began in India. India will always be the home for the work. When we think about how large the youth population, how large the student population is in India, we will always be working within India, but the need for career and college counseling is very highly felt around the world. And I already know we have a lot of people joining us from Nepal. So even when we look just at South Asia, the need is significant. So we are very much, our vision is very much global. Where are we headed in the next few years? We have a bold goal this year alone of trying to reach 500 teachers and scaling up to 500 teachers. You all can help us get there. We certainly hope that many of you are going to join the Institute, but also for those of you who already have participated, you are our best ambassadors. So we are relying on you to really help us grow the impact of the Institute. We are in the immediate term focused on replicating the model across, as I mentioned, South Asia and Southeast Asia. We are expanding our volunteer faculty, and we are going to be leveraging technology and virtual learning much more. We already were doing so, but the COVID-19 situation has reminded us of the power of technology and how we need to leverage it even further. In terms of a big goal, we're trying to train 100,000 professionals in career and college counseling to impact 176,000 schools by 2035. Now, this number is just for the in-person reach. As we think about the role of technology, those numbers could be even bigger. And if we could move on, please. To give you an idea of what that growth and scope could look like, even just in our neighboring countries, and how large the need is. Even if we look at just South and Southeast Asia, we're looking at over 400 million students in the age range of 15 to 19 years who are in dire need of the sort of guidance that we're talking about. And just to look at some targets, that if we were able to, in the next 5 years, train 20,000 counselors in this region, we would be impacting millions of students. And if we could please move on. And if you look at what the scale of that impact can be, it sort of reminds us of sort of the core mission of the Institute, which is that we really want to work with teachers, we really want to work with schools, because that's when we can really reach that vision of being able to impact millions of students. So with that, with setting that stage, I'm going to turn it over to Neha, who directs the Institute, and she will take you through what our core offering is, and that we really hope you will see the value in joining.
Thank you so much, Rajika. Thank you, Ganesh, for your invaluable wisdom. Good evening, everyone. I will spend the next 10 to 15 minutes talking about the key offering of the Institute, which is the one-year IC3 certificate program in career and college counseling, and taking you through our journey so far. So although the context has already been set, I would also like to emphasize again that, as careers and colleges evolve, More so in this new reality and the global situation that currently is, it is needless to say that our schools need to step up and keep themselves up to date with the latest developments so that we can best help our students who may be extremely anxious and uncertain about their future right now. So through the program, the Institute helps schools in 3 key areas. One, training teachers, counselors, and administrators in the field. Number 2, building capacity to offer career and college counseling by establishing a counseling laboratory within the school. And number 3, in order to facilitate continuous professional development beyond the program,
ഇനി എന്നെ കൊണ്ട് പറയിപ്പിക്കരുത് കേട്ടോ. ഡാഡായ്
could I request everybody to please mute the microphones?
ഡാഡായ്
Neha, you're muted.
Yeah, can we have all of our organizers keep an active eye on the microphones and mute them, please? And can we request all of our friends that have joined to be very alert and keep the microphone muted? We want to take lots of questions, so please keep those questions coming in the chat box. In about 10 minutes, we'll begin to answer those questions. Please go ahead, Neha.
Thank you. Thanks, Ganesh. So the third key area that I was referring to is the continuous professional development, which is beyond the program. And this is, the process where the Institute also provides access to resources as well as to a global network of educators and expert counselors to our cohort members. So to tell you more about the program offering, the curriculum is designed and developed in collaboration with global partner institutions and highly experienced professionals from around the world. It equips participants to address the 3 distinct areas of what to study, where to study, and how to make it happen. So basically the process of it. I would like to emphasize here that the program facilitates knowledge about both Indian as well as global education systems, along with exposure to diverse career options. Things like best practices in counseling, mindfulness in decision making, and most importantly, working with parents and students, I would say, are the basic learning blocks of our program. Talking about the program delivery, we use a blended teaching approach, which is a mix of in-person and online learning. So we have in the program 4 weeks of learning delivered in person during the residential program hosted at our partner universities in India. These 4 residential program weeks are individually delivered once per quarter throughout the year. So this is further supplemented by virtual learning through a series of webinars. That's about 5 hours of online work per week throughout the program. So just to give you a broad idea, the program encompasses over 350 hours of training and project work. Our host universities, like I mentioned, and includes the likes of Shivnada University, OP Jindal, Ashoka University, Ahmedabad University, just to name a few. And these universities graciously provide transfers, campus accommodation, and meals to the participants during the residential weeks. About the methodology that we adopt at the institution, our pedagogy draws upon the collective experience of the faculty and best practices in the field of career and college counseling. The methodology adopted at the institute includes interactive lectures, class discussions, largely delivered through real-world case studies, experiential learning, and project work in collaboration with fellow participants. In addition to these group projects, the participants are also individually assigned a capstone project. Now, what is a capstone project? This is actually an applied project intended to develop and practice skills and competencies that equip you to further set up a fully functional counseling laboratory within the school and create significant value and impact, within the schools. As I mentioned earlier, the program also allows participants to have access to an array of online content and tools, along with an opportunity to develop a global network with educators and expert counselors from the world. Our alumni network, I must mention here, is amongst the most significant partnerships that we have. While the alumni continue to benefit from the ongoing engagement with the Institute, they also wholeheartedly support the Institute by volunteering their time as mentors to the ongoing cohort. And with their experience and guidance, the participants could actually significantly accelerate their progress, both in the program as well as at their school. So just to give you a quick insight into our journey so far, we launched a pilot batch in 2018 with 23 participants from 19 different regions in India and one from Nepal, who's actually a principal at one of the schools there, with a cumulative of over 15,000 students impacted so far through their work at the schools. 2019 batch witnessed the strength to have almost doubled to 44 counselors from 23 regions in India and 3 from Nepal, with the potential to impact over 25,000 students in the near future. Our rough estimate tells us that over their lifetime, each counselor could effectively impact at least 12,500 students directly. We thought it would be relevant to highlight what some of our alumni have to say. So the first is Mr. Bhupendra Dhittal, principal at New Capital College, Nepal, who received the Fulbright Teaching Excellence and Achievement Program scholarship recently, and that's for his exemplary work at the school. Fulbright scholarship, as many of you would already know, is a 6-week-long state-funded program by the US government for deserving high school teachers. Also here we have Ms. Sapna Goyal, who was kind enough to share her journey as a career guidance counselor and how the program at this institute contributed to her journey. She's a fine testimony of our belief that teachers and counselors will always work in the best interest of the child. We conducted an early research with the participants at the time of starting the pilot batch that revealed that only 7% teachers came with formal training and experience in this domain. On completion of the program, however, 93% teachers who actually had administrative and teaching responsibilities back in the school were now well equipped to cater to the career guidance needs of their students at no additional cost. There is a visible increase in their confidence and effectiveness in guiding students and parents at school, and most have gone on to establish successful counseling labs within their school systems as well. Here are some glimpses from the classroom. There are a couple of them from the online sessions, as well as a couple from the residential weeks that we hold as well. The graduation ceremony, the most awaited event of the year. This marks the completion of the program, and successful participants are awarded certificates at the annual IC3 conference in August. So just to let you know, the graduation ceremony for the batch 2021, which will be held during the annual IC3 conference in August 21, is expected to witness participation from over 1,500 delegates. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ganesh, later, but that's the number that I'm estimating, and that's from across the world, comprising of 700 schools from India alone, and universities, industry, and senior educational leaders from across the world. Here are some pictures about how our alumni have gone ahead and successfully set up fully functional counseling laboratories within their schools and showcasing some of their work. Again, some coverage and pictures of our journey and how student success has always been integral to all of our activities. So just to take you through the finer details of the program, I'm mindful that we have 20 minutes and we wanted to reserve some time for question and answers as well. So the program is titled as the IC3 Certificate in Career and College Counseling, with over 350 hours of training and project work spread over 1 year. The program is offered free of cost to participants and is scheduled to begin from September this year. I'm happy to announce that the applications for the 2021 batch are open, and here are some prerequisites to note before one decides to apply. We would require you to be a full-time employee at a high school, have permission from your school to participate. The school must be committed to establishing a full-time counseling laboratory and an office to help students. You must physically attend all 4 weeks of the residential program that will be hosted across various universities in India, and dedicate approximately 5 hours per week for online work. Also, currently we're not able to offset this cost, so you're required to fund your own travel and airfare to the 4 residential programs. Usually the schools are very happy to sponsor this for their counselors and teachers. So that will be all from my side. The session is now open for questions, and I would like you to please type your questions in the chat box for presenters to answer. Thank you.
Neha, as we are waiting for questions to come in, may I just take literally 30 seconds to emphasize one of the points you ended on, which is very important for everyone to note, that we are offering this institute currently completely free of cost, because we absolutely believe that access to career and college counseling should not be the privilege of only a few schools, but should be the right and privilege of every school in India and Nepal and all the countries we're trying to reach. So it is offered completely free of cost. And as you think of the value of that program to you and your schools, keep in mind that we're also pulling in really top-notch faculty and instructors from around the world. So that's just one point I wanted to really re-emphasize before we jump into the questions.
I welcome attendees to kindly type their questions in the chat box.
I can see one question from admin. I don't know who that is, asking how, the question says, and I'm going to read that out. You mentioned children want to apply all that we teach in a day at the end of the day itself. You're absolutely true, but please explain how we address it effectively. So that's where that training for each teacher comes in, where you have a trained career and college counselor that can provide those insights as to how you create small projects and how you help teachers contextualize what they're teaching, because it is a myth that preparing for exams takes precedence over learning. When effective learning happens, examination preparation is a very natural process. So in my time, I have heard a lot of issues around, well, but the board or the curriculum demands that students study in a certain way so that they can reproduce or deliver what they have studied in a certain format to get marks. I can tell you, I have practiced a lot of this for a good 17 years, and a lot of times the outcomes in the exams are much better with the understanding that they come back with. So it is exactly the reason why you need to study for that year and learn how to be able to do this. So I'll stop there, and I'll let some of our colleagues look at the questions if there's something for.
Neha, I'd like to take one, please. I answered it in the chat box, but I think it's a very important point that's been raised, so I want to speak to it. Dr. Anand Vadadekar asked, are there any refresher programs conducted after completion of the certification, maybe after a year or so, since careers and knowledge are not constant and counselors need to keep them updated? I think this is a very important point. Neha touched upon it in her presentation as well, but I want to emphasize it, that we are very, very strong on the alumni engagement aspect of our work. Now, admittedly, we currently have one cohort that's true alumni, but already we are engaging with them, and we have a second batch that will be graduating this at the end of August. So we are already putting in place plans for the continued engagement and learning of the alumni. Again, thinking about the multiplier impact, that for any of us, all of our learning about anything cannot be complete in just a year. So it's really about the networks also that the teachers will build as a result of the institute when in that 1 year, but also when they become alumni. So absolutely, that continued learning and continued engagement is very much a part of our core model.
Thank you, Rajika. There is a question from Toshin Soni. I had applied for the course, but couldn't send the letter from school since nowadays the school is closed. So I must assure you that we are transitioning from a hard copy of the letter to a digital form of receiving these letters, and you will have information from us soon. So don't worry about that.
Neha, there's a question on, yeah, I was going to say there's a question on how the 4 residential weeks are structured during the year and in which months, in case you want to speak to that quickly.
So currently the 4 residential weeks are structured in the months of September, December, April, and June, and that's how they're spread across the year. These residential weeks are for a week each and are hosted by one of our partner institutions across the country, the likes of OP Jindal University, Ashoka University, Ahmedabad University, and Shiv Nada University, just to name a few.
There's another question on the 2-year commitment as to stay at the same school. I think Rahul has a question. Do you want me to take that? So Rahul, we want, this program is completely free, as you can imagine, 300 plus hours of instruction, 4 weeks of accommodation, meals, everything's part of this. And we really want the school that sends the counselor to benefit. So our expectation is that if you are working as a full-time, you are only taken into the program if you're a full-time school employee, and that you would stay at that school for 2 years after completion of the program. If you intend to continue, because whatever you learn through the year, you are implementing in that school, and you kind of keep working through that till you fully establish the program in that particular school. So yes, we would ideally like to see that. That's a requirement that we state as part of our sign up.
Neha, there are a couple of questions around the COVID-19 situation and its impact, and if I may take that and start with that, and then you may well have something more to add. But this is a very relevant question, and the question is how COVID-19 is affecting the current cohort. And what I want to share is that we have seen the same impact as any other institution, university, organization that has any kind of cohort that's being taken through a process of learning. And what I will say is that we very quickly, very nimbly moved our last residential week online in March. We predicted early on that the situation would probably worsen, and we did not want to endanger the teachers or anybody else. So we actually worked, Neha and her team worked very quickly with Shiv Nada University, which was to host that particular week. And I'm very pleased to say that even though we were moving at a very fast pace and moving everything online, we saw such dedication from all the teachers, and it's not easy. 5 days a week being in this sort of online format, morning to evening. We saw a terrific turnout from all the faculty at Shiv Nada University. We still had the Vice Chancellor show up and share her vision and inspire the group. So I was very touched that despite having to go, actually, can everyone just mute their mics, please? to go from being on campus together to suddenly be all virtual, but the sense of drive and commitment to the mission and realizing the learning that was happening was very strong. That being said, we absolutely are placing a lot of emphasis on the residential part of it, because we have seen, even with just these 2 cohorts, the sense of commitment, camaraderie, the joint work, the collaboration that happens when people come together as a group. So, we have to watch the situation as it unfolds, take decisions that are in the interest of everybody, but certainly, plan as well as we can, but that we are still very committed to the idea of in-person convenings. Neha, I don't know if you want to add anything.
We just want to add that Rita Dasgupta ma'am from our current cohort has been very kind to endorse that she was a part of the virtual session, and it was very well planned and thought of. So thank you, Rita ma'am, for your inputs there. I'm just trying to see questions that we may have missed. So we have Shweta Barda here, who says it's a very nice opportunity and a very good initiative by IC3 opening ways for career counselors, school counselors. What would be an issue while joining for this program if one is not a full-time employee but has been working for over 6 months? So the program currently, Shweta, requires you to be a full-time employee at the school. If that is not the case, then I'm afraid there is nothing that we can offer to you at this point in time currently, but that's a prerequisite for sure. Sorry, Ganesh, you were going to say something?
You should join a school immediately, because you can impact hundreds of thousands of students. So please, and there are a lot of schools looking for teachers who want to also learn about career and college counseling.
There is a question from Shweta. She says, is there a minimum years of teaching or work experience required for course eligibility? So no, the eligibility check only requires you to be working with the school as a as a full-time employee. There is no criteria as such in terms of minimum years of teaching. So I hope that answers your question, Shweta. Just trying to see if there are more questions.
It's getting to dinner time, so you must not accept. We are standing between your dinner, especially in India. Let's see.
Yeah, so I mean, just on the residential week, I see a question around whether there's a choice of place. So it's not so much a choice of place as it is the backing of our university partners, who have really supported the mission, and for that, and have come on board as a university partner, and therefore for that 1 week that they're hosting, they're opening up their facilities, the board, the lodging, and also sharing their faculty for that 1 week. So it's really based on sort of where our university partnerships are. And I'm happy to say that the universities that are currently our most active partners are the ones who within India are really some of the most innovative institutions, and who also share some of the same mission-driven approach that the IC3 movement has around access to education.
I see a question here from Nandini. She asks, are there evidences of informed choices being taken?
Are you referring to informed choices being made by students? Is that what you're referring to, Nandini?
Yes.
I'm sure there are several pieces of evidence of informed choices. You could reach out to Mansi or some of the alumni if you'd like some of those to take to your school leadership.
There is a question on what would be the deadline to apply since the school is under lockdown, and that's by Vidya Shetty. So Vidya, really all that you need to do is get online, visit our website and fill up the application form online. So even though the school may be under lockdown, it will not stop you from going ahead and applying. So don't worry about that. And we will share the application links on the chat as well as you could, if you were to leave your email ID, we would be happy to share more details with you. Thank you, Sunny Mahajan. He says we have 4 of our teachers who are career counselors as a part of the cohort and at Pratap World School, Pathankot. Thank you so much, and thank you for your vote of confidence.
So I just want to make a couple of other comments as we finish up. There is, we have IC3 Live that had become operational. IC3, of course, does the annual conference and the regional forums. I would encourage everybody to look at the IC3 Movement website. There's a lot of this virtual programming that will be available over the next 6 months. Even as you look at, coming into the institute and beginning the program. And whenever you need a support, we are 300 plus volunteers. Whenever you need some support, reach out on the emails, and you can reach out to our colleagues at the IC3 Institute, but also broadly, there are several IC3 volunteers. And most of these people, their heart is in this, and we really want to reach out to you. So if there isn't a solution we have for you at this time, you'll see that we'll actually make that possible. And Prabha, Africa, we are not very far from having a cohort in Africa. So please do not explain to your school that when you go for the residential week, you're not going on a holiday. I read here that they are not giving me leave. This is intense professional development. If schools want to survive in the future, teachers should be spending 30% on professional development and 70% teaching. We cannot afford teachers without professional development. There's a lot of time so when you go out for 4 weeks away from your family, your principal, you need to, and we've got collaterals for you to share there. You've got to make sure that it's not deducted from your leave, for God's sake. And one of us, Rajika, me or Neha, would be happy to speak to your principal as well. We don't want you to, this is really what you do to help the school. The school is going to be profoundly impacted by this, and your students. So make sure that that's not the perception that's built when you go to the IC3 Institute Residential Week.
Thanks for that, Ganesh. So may I, as we approach the close of this session, invite all the attendees to, in case if they have any further questions about the program, about how to apply, and the results that we are seeing with our alumni and current cohort, please reach out to us at info@ic3institute.org. You can also see our numbers there, so please feel free to reach out to me directly. At the India number, we will be very, very happy to answer your questions. And in case the need arises for us to also engage with your school administration to explain to them the need of this function, I'd be very, very happy to do that myself.
And there's also a survey link that has been shared for this webinar of feedback. If you can just click that link and give us instant survey. We want to minimize our online content, and we want to have the very highest quality content. So your feedback will help us shape what else we can do for you. Go ahead, Neha. I'm done.
Great. Thanks so much, Ganesh. You covered up for me. So thank you, Ganesh and Rajika, for your time, for sharing the vision, and for making us all a part of this bigger goal that we've all set for ourselves. So thank you to all the attendees for your participation. We look forward to receiving your feedback and queries about the program. Thank you so much for your time again. Thanks to the organizers for managing this well. Keep safe, stay healthy, and thank you.
Thank you.
This conference will now be recorded.